Now let's talk about that still burning issue in Nigeria. That's the issue of tax reform. Well, a lot of benefits have been enumerated, but it seems there's a lot of convincing that is yet to be done, even though the Taiwo Yedele group have said that before now they have already spoken to the governors and all of that, but it doesn't seem that way. Now let's look at some high points of this tax reform, which now is supposed to be, they're supposed to be having a conversation with the AGF to find out perhaps loopholes or no loopholes before we can proceed now. Some of those high points from the tax reform bill, which is, I don't want to call it controversial, is funds raised from the VAT, that's the value added tax, would not be mismanaged. We know that Nigerians are very skeptical about paying tax, and one of the reasons is the management of the fund, the issue of transparency in the process of spending that fund. And there's also national fiscal policy that's supposed to be birthed from all of these reforms. They're supposed to show principles and framework around taxation, tell us who should pay tax, how much they should pay, and how should they pay it, and also to eliminate what has now been called the nuisance taxes. So Yedele has been on our different platforms right here on channels and enumerated a whole lot on that. There's also that VAT will no longer be calculated based on where companies have their headquarters, but where the goods are consumed. I think this is the one that's really causing a lot of controversy, especially among the governors in the north, and of course the governors have been divided. Now let's get the perspective now of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. We have their 16th president right here in the studio, Mr. Samuel Agwelui. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
Great. So, I mean, I think you were a part of, at least CITN, a part of the initial conception and all of the different groups and talking about it. So I just wonder why it does seem like this reform bill is new or is being received as new and causing a whole lot of controversy in different quarters.
It is expected that when you are bringing a major reform to a system, there will be diverse opinion. So I would rather want to see it as diverse, different perspective. But almost everything we have in this bill has been what CITN has been advocating for over 20 years. That is the truth. We've been discussing this, how to make sure that our tax laws, administration and practice can be compared to what we have from outside the country. So we are happy in CITN that the president, that's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, came on board last year and he exhibited his disagreement with multiplicity of taxes and other issues around the tax administration in the country. And he set up this committee. CITN members were part of that committee. And so even at the discussion level, things were seen from different perspectives, and it is expected that a reform of this nature will have that kind of experience in the making. So now that we are here and we have people, the stakeholders, I call them, have their different perspectives, it should be expected. And it is also good for the system that you have a document that many people are interested in. One thing we have realized is that it has brought tradition even into the fore. Many people didn't want to talk about this. Many people would never want to discuss with the tax men. But today, it has come to the front burner. And at the end of the day, once we are all focused on how to end the discussion positively, then of course, Nigeria will be the best for it.
So the fear now is, while we are doing these discussions and there will be compromise one way or the other, we do hope that the reform would not lose its shine in the midst of the compromise to buy people into it. That's the fear.
If you have followed the argument from whichever side of the divide, nobody has said the company income tax should not be reduced from 30% to 27.5% and eventually 25%. And so some of those, or most of those technical things, they are the reality we must live with. The reduction of taxes and elimination of nuisance taxes, as you have rightly said, nobody can be proud of that. So Nigeria, and for us as tax professionals, I keep on saying this, we've been having this major headache over the years whereby foreign investors want to know, they want to come to Nigeria, and there are things they want to be certain as to how they go, particularly your tax, their tax obligation when they come to Nigeria. And as a tax professional, how do you advise foreign investors as to when it comes, you'll be paying over 60 different types of taxes? And even more than that, how do you advise? And as also a professional, you must not tell lie. So it's been a difficult experience for us, but I tell you, this bill is bringing sanity into the tax space. And I also see it even beyond taxation, because we must first of all look at taxation is a derivative of the economy. So if the economy is not doing well, there's nothing to collect. So if you focus on the economy and you have certainty of what to pay, it also lends credence to ease of doing business in Nigeria. The small scale enterprises being given some relief and exception. It gives credence to ease of doing business. So when you put all this together, I've not seen anybody talking against this. But the controversial part, which is the derivation, the political leader could always sort themselves out. This is what I keep on saying. And when they call themselves to the villa, they know the language they speak. But to specifically answer your question, I don't see us losing the benefit of this bill, because nobody has actually strongly criticized the technical aspect and those aspects that will help the country. If it is about derivation, then of course, in CITN we say derivation and the appropriation of that money is not necessarily an economic matter alone. It has the social matter, the social angle and the political angle. No state in Nigeria will win if other states are losing. So we must have this holistic look as to the well-being of Nigeria, so that once there's development all around the country, even the rural-urban migration will go down, and the pressure on facility in the city center will reduce. So we need to put many variables on the table to be considered before we look at in the issue of the appropriation or whatever goes to the state, or the sharing, if I can use the popular language. So if and once we do that, it will be a win-win situation for everybody. Percentage-wise, you may not get it, but other benefit. And in finance, when you want to take decision, we always look at the quantitative angle. What is the figure saying? But once you are done with the quantitative decision making, you look at the qualitative angle too. What are the factors out there that figure will not ever tell you? So we in CITN recommend this qualitative. And when we talk of qualitative, in this instance, we look at the social and we look at the political. Everything must be brought to the table.
Mr. Oyedele assures Nigerians that VAT will not be mismanaged. I wonder what mechanism in the bill gives that assurance that, you know?
Well, I also pray. He is assuring why I'm praying, and we are working. We believe everything will work together. Because no matter how good the bills are, and no matter the good intention, once the existing, and I use the word existing, trust deficit is not worked on, it won't give the desired result. No one will give you money when they don't trust you. So, and that is why the discussion that is going on out there is good for the system. Let us discuss, let the bills have the buy-in of all stakeholders. Then you are already doing well in terms of positive outcome or the implementation of the bills. That is on one hand. On the other hand, even the stakeholders, as in the taxpayer, they could see that the government has done a lot for them in terms of relief, exception, and the likes. So that is also to say that the government is not always looking for money, way of collecting money from me. This time around, government is bending backward to say, okay, if I'm earning this X amount of money, I wouldn't be paying taxes. If my company is operating, for example, the company income tax and VAT, if the company is operating as we speak today, and the turnover is within 25 million, you are not going to pay. But if you move ahead, now that threshold has been increased to 50 million. So the philosophy behind that decision is that let these people thrive. Once they are successful and they cross the bar, then they can start putting whatever it is expected of them into the basket. So that is communicating rightly to the taxpayer. And it is a way of growing the people we want to have as taxpayer tomorrow. So with this, we expect that there will be more money in the purse, and the government on the side will move and work towards bridging the trust deficit. Attitude cannot be legislated on. So fraudulent activities, not using the money the way it should be used, is an attitudinal issue. And we need to keep on appealing to our leaders to ensure that the people's revenue, tax revenue, works for the people.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to go back to prayers now, because the prayer that we started with. But how do you see this conversation ending? I mean, I think implementation is supposed to start by January. And of course, we're in the middle of nowhere now, because the Senate, they've paused action because, you know, it has to go outside the judiciary. I mean, the lawmakers for conversation. So how do you see? We hope this doesn't get frustrated and then we forget about it.
No, I don't think it will happen. But I believe there will be compromise. There will be need to shift ground, particularly in the aspect of the controversy concerning the derivation, which is the 60%. Once that is done, other aspects that are less controversial can be worked on. We may not be getting January. I pray we get it. It will help the country. We need certainty. We need sanity within the tax space. That is what we appeal that we get. But again, if you look at the program, if you look at the year, next week we are told President Tinubu will be presenting the budget. That's a major assignment that may take away the attention of the legislator from this bill. But all said and done, it is better to wait and get a good document, near perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Near perfect document that everybody will, at least majority will buy into, and will be, the implementation will be somehow seamless. That will help the system.
What compromise would CITN advise for us to, you know, land on this bill?
Well, just like I said, there are 4 Bs, and the area of focus has been the VAT, equality 20%, population 20%, and derivation 60%. Even though that derivation proposal is moving Nigeria away from where we were, where states with headquarter effect were getting massive benefit. The proposal in the bill is not saying that. The proposal is saying it is no longer going to be where production takes place. It is going to be where consumption, because VAT is consumption. It's a consumption tax, lifestyle tax. Now, that is still not okay by the stakeholders. That's why we have this discussion or the different perspective. So we suggest that we need to tinker with, and what we have brought to the table as a suggestion is that because the issue around the derivation is purely economic, and we are saying add to this economy the social effect. If there's unrest in any state, the money we are saving we still spend to go and quench the unrest. So if there is security challenge, we will still take from the common purse to undo this. So we must not ignore the peaceful atmosphere in the country. So to that extent, we say bring in social variable into it, and also balance the political, because Nigeria is a federation, and everything is somehow fragile. So to that extent, we want beyond economy other variables to come on board for consideration.
How would that be captured in the bill? I mean, if we were to go past all of these talks and let's just get it done, how would that be captured?
Okay, maybe we ask the question, how was 20% allocated on population? Because we have 100, 20 was allocated to population, 20 to equality, then 60 to derivation. So what was the scientific calculation that said we should do that? So I'm looking at reducing 60%, which is derivation, and whatever is reduced from there can be taken to population. Because whatever money we are using on the people. The facility and everything that is being used by the people, the need to provide infrastructure. So once we tinker with the 60%, whatever is removed there can be taken to population. That, I think, we assuage the concerns of those who have different perspective.
All right, thank you so much for that. That was really helpful, helping us to understand, where we could do that compromise. 16 presidents of the Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. Mr. Samuel Agbelui, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, now let's take a break. When we come back from that break, we'll head to the markets with Anyeti Edet. Stay with us.